Hey everyone, it's Yitzer Flogan here. I thought what might be interesting, since some of you have asked for it, is for me to do sort of a creator's commentary on A Tale of Gielinor. And I thought that was a cool idea, so here I am. I also just wanted to say that I don't think I'm going to be making any more. It takes too much time, but I had a lot of fun making this, and I wanted to give this as sort of my parting gift to you for being there, listening to this, and really letting me know how much you've enjoyed it. So I want to give a creator commentary, and I'm also going to go through the music and the lyrics and talk about the references that I used, whether that's RuneScape references and whether that's musical and lyrical references from other media. So with that being said, let's get into it. So I'll comment on this at the end, but this motif actually plays fairly often, and it's significant to the whole sort of concept album. If you hear a female voice in anywhere on the album, that's actually my girlfriend Addie. She was such a queen for participating in this. She's awesome. She's really great.
Expanding my knowledge and skills, I am learning and burning some logs that I cut. I'll try to fashion a ration. A shrimp sandwich is easier said than done. Bread's indivisible, but
I realize now that that line is outdated with the release of what's it called? The Beneath Ice Mountain, where you actually have to make a sandwich and you can cut bread. I guess you could always have cut bread in A Recipe for Disaster, but I wanted to keep this completely free to play. But yeah, that quest came out about a month after this did, so I didn't have time to incorporate it.
so's my spirit, I'm fearless, I'll do all the quests. Thank you, Mr. Guide. Hit the mines, give mining a whirl. Next up is Vanica, man, what a beautiful name. She sounds lovely and bubbly, like my kind of girl. I'll tell
So I'm kind of playing.
how I will change.
So I'm kind of playing on myself here. I had this terrible tendency in high school when I wrote plays and other things that I would always end girls' names with A instead of anything else. Not Alice, not Gertrude, but always like Vanessa, Marissa. Always something with an A. So I thought I'd kind of make fun of myself here, where the person's name is Vanica, but it's a guy. I thought that was funny to me, and I think it's a funny joke. But anyway, continuing on.
The world, and it's by keeping the peace, leading evil's defeat. Save Lumbridgian streets on the mainland. I'll have
that's how
power
you
and gold, have my
refer to
legacy
Lumbridge's
told
citizens,
in the stories
Lumbridgian.
of old on the mainland.
So here's an interesting musical reference. The bass line that is playing when I hold out mainland, that's actually from the RuneScape main theme, where it goes dun da 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 dun da 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 dun da 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 dun.
All this and more on the mainland. Oh.
So a lot of inspiration for the song was taken from like Paul Simon's
She's a
expositional
guy,
stories.
beat and spry,
Yeah,
and
she's
to
a guy.
the max. He hands me a sword, be forewarned, I've never fought. He says, arm yourself, are you a man or a mouse? Cause they're roughly as tough as you, an overgrown lot. They're homely, if only there were gigantic cats, but till they're real we use steel, or an arrow and bow.
I don't think you can wield steel until you have an attack level of 5, so that was an oversight. This was also a really hard song to write because of the rhyming scheme. It's da 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 da, and those first da 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 da, they rhyme every single time. Or I tried to make it as frequently as possible, but I think I got most of the way there, but there's a few that are missing.
I exterminate vermin great, I'm ready
that
for
one.
more. He pulls me aside, he says I reap what I sow. I tell him that I'm ready to go.
So if you're familiar with the album, you know that it's all about pursuing legacy at all costs and what happens when someone does that. So I'm trying to lay the seeds of that in what is essentially the opening number of the album. You reap what you sow, but the whole time our player is trying to get away and just do his own thing. You know, he's trying to say, hey, I don't want to listen to your advice. You know, I know what I'm doing. I can handle it, this, that, and the other thing. But we see how that turns out for him, don't we?
And start keeping the peace, leading evil's defeat. Save Lumbridgian streets on the mainland. I'll have power and gold, have my legacy told in the stories of old on the mainland.
There's that bass line again.
All this and more on the mainland. Oh.
Here I was trying to do some sort of like Scottish bagpipe thing. I think it's an organ with some effects on it.
He says, I've seen men of stronger resolve and smaller goals have their lives disrupted.
I like this part a lot. This is from the perspective of Annika, and it's all about sort of, you know, you're too big for your britches, dial it back a little bit, or you're going to end up in trouble. I've seen men of stronger resolve and smaller goals have their lives disrupted. You know, that's a pretty intense thing to say to someone. And it's kind of mean, but I think our player deserves to be put in his place. And I don't think he really gets that until the end.
There are forces of evil both outside and in.
We'll hear that line again.
Intentions can't end up corrupted. The mainland poses danger. It'll change your values and virtues. It'll prime you towards obsession if you can't keep your wits about you.
I always meant that as sort of a little meta commentary on the game itself. It's no one ever quits RuneScape. They just take long breaks, and it's very easy to get obsessed with this game. So I wanted it to be sort of a commentary on not only the player situation, but also us as players. It primes us for obsession. Tutorial Island. We don't know what we're getting into.
Keep your wits about you. After
some music theory nerd is probably interested in this, as I was, but that sort of cadence is this isn't going to make any sense if you don't know music theory, so bear with me, but it's a flat 6 to flat 7 to 1 movement, which is largely used in these sorts of heroic escapades. I think it's a staple of the Legend of Zelda main theme. So I tried to borrow from that because it has similar themes. You know, it's a medieval adventure game.
After his diatribe, I go find the mouth of the cave. He talked my ear off, but here I go to the end. I learned to pray and then make some friends. I'm sure I'll be loved.
So I think that initial lyric, instead of I learned to pray and then make some friends, I'm sure I'll be loved, which that's not how it turns out. I think the initial lyric was something about clans. It was like, I learned to clan and then, no. Shoot. Then I go and I pan Iron Man. It sounds like a chore. Something like that. But then I realized our player has to be an Iron Man because he doesn't use the Grand Exchange at all. He doesn't trade with any players. And if he could, there wouldn't be any songs. It would just be like, I went up to Varrock and I bought an egg and a bucket of milk and some freaking flour and I made a cake. Do. And that's it. So he has to be an Iron Man. That's why I cut that lyric.
Dish some spells, wish them well, get ready to send me off. I am done playing pretend. It's time to start keeping the peace, leading evil's defeat. Save Lumbridgian streets on the mainland. I'll have power and gold, have my legacy told in the stories of old on the mainland. Oh, all this and more on the mainland. Oh, all this and more on the mainland. Oh, all this and more on the
Yeah, so that's the opening number. And I'm doing all the harmonies myself there at the end, and that's really at the upper range of my register. I think later on in Romeo and Juliet, I hit the same. I think it's a high A for me at least, and my voice breaks, but I left it in anyway because I thought it was funny. But there's actually a lot of pitch correction on those high vocals because they were so difficult for me. So Cook's Assistant. Oops, sorry. Cook's Assistant was actually the first song I wrote for the whole album, and I was thinking of just stopping at Cook's Assistant. The reason originally that it was written is I took Laurie Santos's class on happiness. It was an online course for free offered through Yale, and I took it. And one of the things was, if you want to be happier, this was during the pandemic, so no one was happy. But one of the things you want to do if you want to get happier is you want to look back on your childhood and do more things from your childhood. And for me, that meant writing comedy songs and playing RuneScape. So I put the two together into Cook's Assistant, and it just kind of spiraled some more. As I realized the pandemic was going to keep going and going and going, I figured, you know what, why not dream a little bigger? Why not try and put something out that is more interesting than just Cook's Assistant the musical? So this is what came out of this. Cook's Assistant the musical is based, the Cook's Assistant song is based largely off of sort of like those campy, happy songs from musicals, as well as George Harrison's Got My Mind Set on You. And I'll point that out later on in the song.
Off the rock, I learned how to use my hands. I need a little bit of money. I'll make it any way that I can. I see.
So we're setting up the premise there. He needs some money, obviously. You can't get anywhere on 25 GP. Take it from me. And I mean, you set up the punchline really early, and then you deliver at the end. You don't get any money from Cook's Assistant. I don't think. Do you? Maybe I messed this up. I don't think you do. I think you just get like a quest point.
That you're too busy to run to the general store or mini mart. So I'm happy to assist you as your personal Instacart. Whoa. Good, you've made a list.
I just looked it up. You get 300 cooking XP. You don't get any money. You don't get any money.
For the cake after we eat dinner, this list is just 3 ingredients. I've never made a cake without some kind of sweetener, but you know what the Duke likes. Disregard everything I say. No yeast or baking soda. This is barely a cake, but I'm broken on my way.
I've been corrected a few times that I should have said baking powder by Addie, my girlfriend. She's an avid baker. Whoops. Good thing that the Venn diagram of people who listen to RuneScape musicals and also bake is very small.
Too busy to run to the general store or mini mart. So I'm happy to assist you as your personal Instacart.
There she is harmonizing again.
I get a bucket from the store.
So remember what I said about this song being influenced by George Harrison's Got My Mind Set on You? When I say influence, I mean, I realized the chords were exactly the same, so I thought it'd be funny for me to completely rip off the orchestration as accurately as I possibly can. So especially when we get later in this bridge section, when we get the sax and the trumpets, if you go listen to Got My Mind Set on You, you're going to hear the exact same instrumentation. So if you're into, George Harrison post-Beatles music, there you go. A little bop for you.
I squeeze some milk out of a cow.
That is actually interesting. I was trying to record this whole thing, and I kept running out of breath for some reason. It's not a hard song to breathe on, but right there I always ran out of breath, so it was, I squeezed some, and I went, ugh, and that's how you get that grunt in there. I was just frustrated.
Get a pot from the store.
I should've got it before. Need grain to fill up my pot. Out here in the field, yeah.
That's a reference to Baba O'Reilly, I think, by The Who. We just both happen to be out in the fields.
Okay, I filled up my pot. There's one more thing I ain't got. No, 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 no.
Those no's were not written by me. I was working on this song, and Addie heard it, and there wasn't anything there originally. It was supposed to be just like a breather, like a delay in the song. And she comes walking by, and she just goes, no, 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 no. And I said, oh, that's perfect. That's exactly what needs to go there, especially on egg. I don't know why it's so funny to me just to hear egg repeated 5 times by a chorus, but it made me laugh when she did it. So that's how that got in there. That's one of my favorite parts of the whole album.
Why are there so many bones? Bones, bones, bones. Okay, I picked up an egg. Egg, 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 egg. Why are there so many bones?
I do that sort of harping on the bones issue just to sort of introduce, like, Vanica was right. It's a monstrous world once you get off Tutorial Island. People are just slaughtering chickens, and you can tell he's not really comfortable with this. Why are there so many bones? What is going on here?
I'm headed back to the throne. You were too busy to run to the general store or mini mart, so I'm happy to assist you as your personal Instacart. Yeah,
I don't know why I did all those ad-libs. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I'll be taking my reward now. I assume it is a fat stack of cold hard cash. No? What is a quest point?
So I tried to say what is a quest point in time with the next song coming up, The Knight's Sword. So it's the what is, or I can't really clap and do it, but it's like, what is a quest point? So that would kind of set the tempo for the next song, The Knight's Sword. And The Knight's Sword is largely influenced by me trying to write like a sing-speak song, like a David Byrne or a Talking Heads kind of song. And I like doing sort of concept musicals like this because it gives me the opportunity to try and emulate a genre that perhaps I wouldn't do in a different scenario. This one has a lot of references, I think.
So I walk into a white castle.
Yep, you can hear the bass line immediately is, I think it's Newbie melody from the original soundtrack. You go bum bum bum, da 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 da, but it's funky. I just made it funky with like a slap bass plug-in.
And I don't hear burgers flipping.
White Castle is an American restaurant. I think it's only on the West Coast, but they make burgers.
But what I do hear is a squire in doubt.
That was a Seinfeld reference. The bow, 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 bow.
He tells me about surviving. I'm like, I can handle my own, thanks. He's like,
yeah, like surviving. Like that's the whole idea of White Knight's Castle and Falador is they all have names like Circumference, Surviving. So that's just paying homage to that, acknowledging that.
Like, will you let me finish? I barely got a sentence out. There's a sword, maybe an heirloom. I'm like, he makes clothes out of air.
I really just wanted to highlight how dumb and naive our player is. He doesn't know what an heirloom is. An heirloom, like a family heirloom. He thinks that it's a loom that uses air to make clothes. So I just really wanted to highlight he is very dumb and innocent, and he has no idea what is going to befall him in the oncoming songs.
It's like HEIRL This is not a funny affair. He's like, you do know.
That ooh is a reference to the very end of It's Still Rock and Roll to Me by Billy Joel. That took me a long time to figure out, but I heard that song and then I heard him at the end go, ooh, and I was like, oh, I accidentally referenced him. Whoops.
How to spell right. I'm like, my magic level is 20. He's like,
yeah, you can hear Addie in there too. The huh! I had to look up what level what level of magic you get bind at to make this lyric work. I'm glad it was, I think it was 19 or something, I don't remember, but it made 20 work really, really well.
I wanted someone smarter, but I'm in a bind. I'm like, I just learned how to cast that. He's like, cool, can you shut the hell up for a second? I'm like, I'm joking, there's a dwarf that I need to find.
Seinfeld.
I head east to the library. Now I'm talking to some dweeb, and I make my way to bar to skip a point, telling Thurgo what I need. He's like, goddamn, I need
Some red berry pie
I wish to feed
on some red berry pie.
have a glass of me
With some red berry pie,
It's better than weed.
it's red berry pie.
So here's another like music nerd thing that you'll find over and over again in this album is the newbie melody, I think, goes from G minor to C major. That's like the chord progression that it uses, which is a minor 1 to a major 4 progression. So as often as I could in the album, I tried to use 1s to 4s over and over again. And I think this chorus is an example of that, where it's going from, I want to say, it's been a long time since I've looked at the score. I want to say it's from C minor to F, which is that same minor 1 to major 4, but in just like a funk context. And if you don't know music theory and that was just gibberish to you, sorry for wasting your time. Let's get back to the show.
Have my seed.
It's red berry
I
pie
do dirty deeds.
to a red berry pie.
Like steal some bees.
For a red berry
Imp catcher
pie
I
reference.
wish to breathe.
with a red berry pie.
Red berry pie.
That's the joke, right? Is it's like, why does Thurgo want this pie so badly? I'm not the first one to think that he wants to, do something with it. But that's the main joke of the song. It's got to be, right? It can't not be that.
Red berry pie. I'm like, okay, I've got the picture. He's like, that's another thing I'll need. I'm like, the guards aren't great. I can steal a portrait, I presume, yeah. I find it, but Viven sees me. I'm like, I'm sorry, I got lost. He's like, you seem like you used to apologizing in the bedroom.
That is probably the hardest line I've ever written. Damn, that's a sick burn. Nice one, Viven.
I'm like, hey, that cut me deep, man. He's like, I call it like I see it, please leave.
And I'm holding back a water wave of tears.
Let me go back a second. There's that small little synth that kind of does this chromatic descending line. And I think that was based off of When You Die in Mario.
I call it like I see it, please leave.
And I'm holding back a water wave of tears, cause I am unable to conceive.
Oh, shit.
Dark.
I recompose my feelings, but that comment's gonna stick. Everybody in that castle treats me deviously. Now it's on to the red berry. The Whitens is sold out, so I'll sprint back to Barrack where I should have got him previously.
I like that he doesn't hop worlds. Like, he's dumb, you know? He's just gonna freaking... He forgets a lot of things in this show. You know, I get a pop from the store. I get a bucket from the store. I gotta go run to Varrock and get red berries, even though I was just there talking to Reldo.
And I fire up the range now, can't let this go to waste. And I bake a crispy red berry pie, and I give Thurgo a taste. He's like, goddamn, this is
A red berry pie,
just like my wishes.
it's a red berry pie.
Lick clean the dishes,
Of the red berry pie,
bust in my britches.
it's red berry pie.
Gonna make it my missus. Can you take for it?
That was Addie.
She's
A red berry pie,
So gross.
so delicious.
it's red berry pie.
Thurgo-licious.
Red berry pie.
Fergalicious. I think that one speaks for itself. Sorry for pausing.
Red berry pie.
Red berry pie.
Into the Mars.
That's a Lord of the Rings reference, I'm pretty sure. Into the Mines? I don't remember. I released this like a year and a half ago. Yeah, I just wanted a bridge with something interesting, and you've got like these cave chimes, and you got the EQ turned really low, so it sounds like you're like underground, and the music's coming through the cave walls. I couldn't think of anything else to do, honestly.
And I quickly mine the blue rights, and I sprint out of the caves. Virgo replicates the sword and throws it at me, and as I leave I hear him say, God damn, you're quick!
He's full of red berry pie.
The sword's terrific,
Like a red berry pie.
cast magnific.
Come on, red berry pie.
I don't speak French, but my brother took some French classes, so I knew that it. Don't get me wrong, I know it's pronounced "c'est magnifique," but I thought it was funny that, you know, a lot of people in this show are pretty dumb. I thought it'd be funny if Thurgo said "qu'est magnifique," but then I didn't know what to say in the sort of background vocals. What are they saying? And what they end up saying is "Come on." I can't do a French accent, but they're saying "Come on, red berry pie," which I think means "eat a red berry pie," or "we eat red berry pie," or something like that.
I'm feeling thick,
Full of red berry pie.
like a brick.
Which is red like a red berry pie.
Feeling sick,
Full of red berry pie.
wanna double click.
On a red berry pie.
Double click, you eat the whole pie.
Stick my dick
In a red berry pie.
Yeah, it's a little on the nose there. Ick, disgusting.
Red berry pie. Red berry.
God damn,
You're quick.
he's full of red berry pie.
The sword's terrific.
Like a red berry pie.
I like this part because you hear the really high synth is playing the verse melody over the top of the chorus. I think it's a really nice way to wrap the whole song up.
Cast magnific.
Come on, red berry pie.
I feel it there.
Full of red berry pie.
Like a brick.
Which is red like a red berry pie.
Feeling
That might be the dumbest thing I've ever written, actually. Like a brick, which is red, like a red berry pie. It makes me laugh though, so I guess it's alright.
sick.
Red berry pie.
Wanna double click.
On a red berry pie.
I wanna stick my dick.
Stick my dick in a red berry pie.
Red berry pie. Red berry pie.
I remember those harmonies at the end, the red berry pie, were really difficult to write because it doesn't sound like it, but that song has a lot of intricate jazz chords that I should not have put in because it just made doing the rest of the song really difficult. Let's see here. Oh, let me talk about the album art for a second. This was done by Keith Perry. He's credited in the original video. And I think he did an amazing job. There's no... I don't think anywhere in free-to-play RuneScape is that sort of quest symbol, except on the map. Maybe, I guess the Wise Old Man has a quest cape, but you don't really know what that is. And to me, it looked like a compass, but I thought it'd be interesting to put it on top of essentially a rune. I know there's no quest rune, which was part of the design, right? There's no quest rune. So this thing that our player is trying to achieve, this legacy and greatness, doesn't even exist. And the more he pursues it, the more he himself and that idea of capturing greatness and legacy gets fractured along the way. So that was kind of my brief to Keith. I think he played RuneScape once or twice. He wasn't as avid a fan such to write an entire musical about it, but he knocked it out of the park. He did such a great job, and I love the little wispies coming off and just this sort of like weird mystical vibes that it's giving. He really crushed it. Romeo and Juliet. I think subconsciously I based this one off of I Believe, which is a song from the Book of Mormon musical. It has a lot of those. It's got a similar like slow jam beat to it. It's got the first duet I've ever written in the 10 odd years I've been writing songs for. I'm really happy with how it came out. And the person who plays Romeo, his name is Wilson. We were in a indie rock duo band for a couple of years. So it was really fun to collaborate with him again. He also did all the programming of the guitar midis, which I'm really thankful to him for. And he gave me a lot of good feedback on the mixes and mastering. He's a good dude. I like him a lot. There's that same 1 to 4 progression. It's going from a E, oh man, I want to say an E major 7 into an A6. So you've got that 1-4. those high piano notes are definitely I Believe inspired. Sorry, I'm saying I Believe, but what I actually mean is Baptize Me. I Believe's a different song. I mean Baptize Me, sorry.
Young love, I've seen it before. It never finds its way to those as desperate as you.
I took a lot of inspiration from Jonathan Coulton's lyrics for this song specifically. He's really good at giving those like backhand, they're not even backhand compliments. They're just like really subtle burns that when you think about them hit kind of deep. So I wanted to try and get our player into this naive state of like, oh, I'm better than everyone. Oh, I'm experienced with love, Romeo. Let me teach you how it's done.
You're
You're supposed to not like our player. You know, he's kind of a jerk this whole show.
virgin, aren't you? That's okay, I also was till I was 22. So I know how hard it can be to love someone you haven't truly met. And I'm happy to give love a hand and introduce you to Zaf Zaf Zaf.
I got a question from one of my friends that was like, why are you ending every phrase with zaf, zaf, zaf? And I think the joke there is every single line where instead of zaf, 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 if you replace it with Juliet, you get a perfect rhyme. So, to help someone you haven't truly met, da 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 da, introduce you to Juliet. It's just it's a perfect rhyme, but he just goes in and says Zaf 3 times, and it ruins the whole thing. He does that a few more times. It was really hard to think of perfect rhymes for Juliet. I credit rhymezone.com for a lot of those.
He's a man of means in more ways than one. He isn't overcompensating with that huge staff. He can help you with improving yourself. 'Cause I'm sure whatever couple you're in, you're the worst half.
Just making the worst assumptions and appealing in the worst way to Romeo, who is not even interested in Zaf. You know, he's making implications about the certain size or the size of certain body parts, shall we say, of Zaf, or what you should be looking for in a partner. You shouldn't be looking for these things in a partner. You should be looking for like how well you communicate, how well you are intimate. It's not about sort of idolizing and putting people up on a pedestal. But again, our player's a moron.
And I know you want to be newlywed, but I know that really means newly wet.
One of my favorite lines in the show, not only because it sets up that perfect rhyme thing I was talking about, but it also is like a play on newlywed and newly wet, and it makes Addie cringe every single time she hears it, which I think is really funny.
And I'm happy to give you someone else's hand, or
Because if our player gives him, you know, his hand, and then Romeo gets newly wet, that's pretty disgusting to our player. I think he's a little bit, he's not completely comfortable with that idea.
introduce you to Zaf Zaf Zaf.
I didn't realize this while I was writing it, but that bass line that just played, and it shows up a few more times in the song, is the Wii Sports theme. Da 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 da. But it's like Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So I'll do that one over again. So I
Zap,
think
zap.
it's just a musical reference. It has no deeper
Don't
meaning.
strut into his shop. He is typically talkative. Do your best to woo and compliment him, then say something provocative.
So this is Wilson as Romeo.
Hey man, how's it going? Nice cock. I mean, nice dick. I mean, nice fucking staff. You piece of shit. You real big piece of shit.
Hey man, what happened? Why'd you get kicked out?
I was just doing what you said. I said something provocative. I called him a real big piece of shit. Yeah.
Not that kind of provocative.
There
Romeo.
is somebody else I love, and it's someone you don't know.
How did you fuck up
She has
this
long blonde hair, emerald eyes, skin like snow, and a gap twixt her thighs.
See, Romeo isn't the purest of heart either. He's like, she's got that gap twixt her thighs, that thigh gap, baby.
When it comes
I mentioned this towards the beginning of this video about the really high harmony and that high A that I can't hit, but I kept in for this when I say it's okay to swing that way. That O is like really broken up and warbled.
and a gap twixt her thighs. When it comes
I left it in because I thought it'd be really funny for Romeo to just have this smoke show vocal, just this incredible vocal performance, especially in the end when he does finally get that rhyme with Juliet and he does like riffs on it. Whereas our player, you know, he's not the greatest singer, but he hits the notes most of the time.
to the ways of love, I like girls, and I believe we have a say in who we get. And I know Zaf is nice and he's well endowed, but I'm in love with Julie.
That build up into the Juliets, that's another one of my favorite parts of the album. Wilson did such a good job, and it just blends so well, and it flows and it grows, and it's beautiful. It's one of my favorite things of the album.
With Juliet.
So originally in a draft of this, you would have sort of a background chorus going, "He's in love with Miss Capulet." But I cut that because I just wanted the orchestra and Romeo to shine for themselves and not bring that Wii Sports theme in over and over again. And now here's the best vocal on the album. This is the best vocal riff on the album.
With Juliet.
Oh my god.
With Juliet. Ba-da-dum dum dum da-da-dum.
Romy, I think you're confused. You've never met this girl, or maybe Zaf's not your type. You racist.
He doesn't listen. You know, he assumes the worst in people.
This is Barek. I think he's a furry.
I didn't really know how to pronounce Barek's name, but hopefully that comes across all right. And he's the fur seller in Varrock, which he's a furry. You know, he assumes the worst in people.
That's okay. I was one too till I was Romeo. Romeo, where'd you go?
I think this is the only quest that is not completed. And I actually haven't done the math to see if you do all the other quests except Romeo and Juliet, are you able to get into the Champions Guild to start Dragon Slayer? I haven't done that math, so that might be a gaping hole in the album. I hope not. So the concept of the album is that I write a song for every quest in free-to-play RuneScape, but then I looked it up, and it's like 23 quests, and I'm not Andrew Lloyd Webber or anything. I'm not going to write 23 songs like that, so I'm just like, you know what, I'm going to take a shortcut. I'm going to take some of the songs, condense them into a rap, So this is kind of a play off of, you know, whenever... Oh, let me give you a little bit of feedback or information about this song. So I was looking up if you could get into the Champions Guild without doing Romeo and Juliet, and you can. So, phew, really dodged a bullet there. This one, you know, it was getting... You know, the pandemic was kind of wrapping up, I thought. And I said, there's no way... Like, honestly, there's no way I'm going to write an entire song for 15, 16 more free-to-play quests. No one will listen to it. It'll be 4 hours long. So I figured I could kind of put them all in a rap and speed along and, you know, make as many references as I could, you know. I say something about Andrew Lloyd Webber. I try to do that, like, voicemail thing at the beginning of a lot of raps and contextualize it a little bit. And I really like how this came out. You know, I'm not a rapper. I'm not really a beat producer. But I think it goes hard as far as, like, a self-produced rap on a RuneScape album should go. The other thing I want to point out is this is the first emergence of that motif from the beginning, that little piano line. So I'm just like, you know what, I'm going to take a short... Which is important, and I'll tell you why at the end of the album. Let's just see how that goes. Before I let the beat drop, as the kids say, this is another song that goes from G minor to C. It's very much in the tradition of the original RuneScape soundtrack. I'm going to be pausing this song a lot to explain the references like I promised. This one has the most references for sure.
Rap on the door, North Ballad, door dwarf offers chores. I'd got rewards for copper or half a dozen draw clay, and I earn my bling by mining today. Hey,
Iron and I earn. I tried to sneak that one in. I don't know if it holds up, but I do like the repeated assonance of rap on the door, North, Falador, dwarf, offers chores, I'd cop rewards. Just really getting that that syllable sound in over and over again.
do hope you liked your cake, pal. You got an odd gift. Hey, talisman, we score these wise old men. Go Sabenti or Distan Molenko.
Gotta shout out the wise old man. You know what I'm talking about? You gotta shout him out. So that first one was Doric's Quest, and then we just heard about Rune Mysteries.
Talk to talk, of course, there's curses. Loser the cool crew's illness worsens. Spar with arson, his name will spur me to...
So his name is Arson, and then, spoiler alert, we burn down his house.
Down the house like David Byrne.
Burning Down the House is off of Talking Heads' album Speaking in Tongues. I think it's the opener of the album. It's really good. I like it a lot. David Byrne is the lead singer of Talking Heads. So that was The Corsair's Curse.
And I journey down to Ernie, telling him I ain't afraid of no skeleton. He said,
that's a Ghostbusters reference where it's like, I ain't afraid of no ghost. So it's, I ain't afraid of no skeleton. Yeah.
says I'm a ghost amulet's a winner. He sounds like all my matches on Tinder.
I'm a ghost. Like, I'm not going to show up. The player can't get any matches on Tinder. That's the Restless Ghost.
Nitpicky whizzes, wish killing a million amps. When they leave a plume of smoke. You think they ripping splits with this mithril sim equipped. In a way they're taking hits.
There's this very slow kind of background of how the character is progressing between songs. So in The Night Sword, you heard that he got his magic level up to 20. He's now able to wield mithril scimitars, so that means his attack is up to 20. We're learning more about him between each of the songs.
Shit, I need the bees, the black and yellow, white and crimson tan.
Black and Yellow was a big rap song when I was in middle school, I think. I think it's by Wiz Khalifa. I don't know. I'm not really into... I know it's a song. I know it's a rap song. This is really embarrassing. Anyway.
And I'm wrapping up the quest log.
You got that same newbie melody coming in. Bum, 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 da, 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 da.
Train up for Dragon Slayer, best smog.
Smog is the dragon from Lord of the Rings.
Didn't pen a song for all the rest, dog. So I'm just rap.
So it's that sort of meta where I'm like, I didn't write a song for all the rest, dog. So here's what I gotta do instead. And that was one of the things with this album that I was afraid wouldn't work, but people don't seem to mind it, is that it goes between this sort of narration of our player as he goes through and he takes care of business and wraps up quests and all that stuff, not only in this song, but through the whole album. And then you've got this sort of omniscient, moral narrator who's kind of seeing the deeds that our player does in a different light. You know, what does it mean to kill rats? What does it mean to kill goblins as you move through the world, regardless of the context of RuneScape, which is, you know, you're supposed to do that stuff, but from a purely moral, Saradominian, shall we say, perspective, is that the right thing to do?
Wrapping up the quest log. Frank wants rum that's intercoastal. I'm getting mad at customs. I'm going postal. I'm going banana.
So this is Knight's Treasure. I think that's what it's called. Pirate Treasure? Something like that. He's going postal, which is... I don't know if this exists outside of the US, but that's a... It probably does. It's an idiom for, like, going crazy. I'm going postal. But he's going postal because he's working in shipping and logistics.
Just grabbing my trades.
Going bananas. So, like, the bananas are going. They're leaving. But you're going bananas. You're going crazy.
Digging Falador, I got treasure in spades.
Digging Falador, I got treasure in spades. You know, if you've got something in spades, you've got a lot of it. And when you dig, you have a spade. So he's got a lot of treasure, and he's physically got treasure in his spade.
Biggups in the pub being tacit and ask if I'm up to a task which a mass is a casket.
Another one that I'm really happy with the assonance on. The This is X marks the spot.
Analyzing clues, utilizing the answers. Hope you like this bar because I'm digging the stanza.
He's digging. I hope you like this bar, meaning the rap verse. If he's digging the stanza, not only is he enjoying... if you like the bar, that's cool. He enjoys the whole stanza, because not only for these four lyrics, but the previous 4 lyrics describing Pirate's Treasure, he was also digging. So he's digging this stanza in more ways than one.
Said I'd make a fair share, sheep shearing, and sheer fears clear. Here's him steer clearing. Aren't you a farmer? Be brave, don't be caving. And by the way, one of your sheep straight avian.
That's Sheep Shearer, and spoiler if you haven't done Cold War, but there's 2 penguins under the little sheep's costume. Hey, by the way, one of your sheep straight avian.
Avian earnest, I'll find a hand friend, spend many minutes.
Big bird theme this end of the verse. I didn't realize it. So in earnest, you say, you know, that's truthfully. In earnest, I'm speaking in earnest, I'm speaking truthfully. But also in earnest, I might find a hen friend. There's another one where I'm really happy with the ends, the repeated ends throughout the rap.
It's up into the basement, then end Jeff has generated chicken men, sending him headed to his girlfriend. That demon smite with silver light. 5 words, but just got 1 shot. Delris raising hell with mages, more earth strikes than mine and Bata.
Really happy. This is probably my favorite lyric of the whole rap. So that last one was Ernest the Chicken. The one that we're currently in is Demon Slayer, which is my favorite because I think I got I'm really happy with the wordplay in it. More earth strikes than mining bots. Any player knows as you're going up to Varrock through those southern gates, you're going to come across level 7 and level 20 dark wizards that are going to pelt you with earth strikes. So more earth strikes than mining bots, and then mining bots... They strike the earth with their pickaxe, trying to get that gold, trying to sell it on the black market.
I'm asking captains for their keys. I'm giving whizzes mass graves. Better back that booty up. You're gonna need your ass saved.
I lost my mind when I wrote that lyric. I'll be honest. I thought it was one of the greatest things I've ever written. You better back that booty up, which is like a rap term where it's, you know, talking about ladies grinding all up on you or whatever. But if you back something up, you're also like saving a copy, like you're saving it, back up your hard drive. So when you back the booty up, you better do that because you're going to need your ass saved. I'm pretty sure most people get all these references. I just feel that I should be comprehensive in case there are people who don't get every single one.
And I'm wrapping up the quest log. Train up for Dragon Slayer, best smug. Didn't pen a song for all the rest, dog. So I'm just wrapping up the quest log.
A miscellaneous miss and a mysterious misfit. Kids are vigilant against the military and still slip. There's two that have caused it. That's what I'll posit. I ain't a homophobe, but stop coming out the closet and head.
That was Mistalin Mysteries. Similarly to Lumbrigian in the first song, I had to come up with the term of someone from Mistalin, so I came up with Mistalinian. I think that's accurate. I think.
He's getting ready, but let me get the integrants. Remington is Bremen.
Didn't know that integrants was a word until I was trying to find a shorter word for ingredients. But ingredients and integrants mean the same thing. Fun fact. Really helped with the scanning of the verse. This is Witch's Potion.
With the timid vermin killing it, I'm looting booty. I had an onion root, I pick turn on the range of charm. I mean, like when I got a dick burn.
Charm I meet like when I got a dick burn. Jesus. Well, this is the first mention of the pelvic injury, which I don't know how this came to be like a running joke in the show, but it did. And it's mentioned several times. He can't have kids. He mentioned that in wrapping up the quest log. The Night Sword. Charm I meet like when I got a dick burn. And then he goes on to mention it a few more times, I think. One or two more times. It's this weird, like, undercurrent joke. This weird dick joke that spans the whole album.
Fight it with the white knights to right slates. I might try and step in front of the bioweapon, alright. I can sabotage and camouflage it, but barrage and regrettably I'll mispronounce the planet composite vegetably.
I couldn't think of anything. This Black Knight's Fortress was such a hard song to find, like, a joke in. So I just ended up with, mispronounce the plan and cabbage them vegetably. Cabbage them vegetably? I don't know. It sounds really dope, though.
Yet I battle be up hippie-headed enemies. I'm not about to let up. Got a pot up like amphetamine. Startle him with garlic. Now they're both minced. Wash my hands, the blood and smell will linger on my fingerprints. I'll leave.
That was Vampire Slayer.
Where could he be? Ask on his son, brah. Leela's leading and leading me on. She's a spy we need to lean on, bruh. Guards awake to die and tie and crying.
So dying the wig yellow, and then the guards are dying. They're perishing.
And Kelly, till she's trapped, son. Ollie pace up his face. I say beat it, Michael Jackson.
I really like that ending of that song. So that was Prince Ali Rescue. What do you got there? So Beat It, Michael Jackson. That's a song by him. Beat It, like get out of here, Prince Ali. Go back to Al Kharid. And then you've got, he pastes up his face. He goes from this sort of Al Kharidian guy to being essentially this white lady, which is, or this white person, which is somewhat similar to what Michael Jackson did back in the 80s or 90s. I don't remember. I wasn't really alive back then. I don't know the whole story. I just know that is, the joke that you pull away from it, that everyone references. So you get kind of this like triple joke at the end of the rap that I think ties it up really nicely together. Going on to Shield of Arrav. I really thought it was important to include this as an entire song because it showcases, his experience with other people, our player's experience with other people, and he gets like an offer to find his way out and find sort of this pride in fatherhood and being a asset to society instead of focusing completely on himself and saying like, I'm going to pursue legacy at all costs, blah, blah, blah. So Shield of Arrav is sort of, it's very much a plot song in that regard. This was kind of based off of the indie rock duo I was talking about earlier. It's kind of based off the music we would write, kind of similar to that stuff, where it's a lot of changes and upbeat and kind of grungy. It starts off with this like jazz intro for no reason that isn't really referenced again, but you do hear that motif from the beginning played on the piano. Bum, 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 bum. Dun, 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 dun.
A message from the king. We've got a gang war out in the streets. This is my time to make a name for myself. We'll be keeping the peace.
I think this is also, you know, going from C minor to F major, that same sort of 1/4 cadence of the RuneScape soundtrack. But you've also got sort of influences, I think, from Pokemon Coliseum's Pyrite Town. If you ever go to Pyrite Town in Pokemon Coliseum, you're going to hear that same kind of grungy chord progression and jazzy flavor to it, which I drew inspiration from.
Got a plan and a sidekick who isn't great at talking. We'll infiltrate the gangs as recruits and scouts.
So when he says he isn't great at talking, what I was trying to convey, and some people have picked it up, is that he's a bad typer because he's like 8 years old. In my mind, the partner that our player partners up with is like 8 years old. He's like me back in the day. 8 years old, he's in the computer room, that really dates me. Where you had a whole room dedicated to your computer and your printer and your modem instead of everyone having like their own laptop or phone. But that's referenced later on in the song. So he can't really type. He's kind of an idiot, much like our player.
We'll lift the contraband, rendezvous at 10. Got it? He says it's hard to focus while his parents shouting.
That's another big like RuneScape joke, is like you're just playing RuneScape while your parents are arguing, shouting at each other in the next room, and you're just there playing RuneScape like, boop-a-doop-a-doo. I'm just a little kid. I don't know what's going on. Better cook these lobbies. Or whatever.
It's an airtight plan, a foolproof endeavor, a shifty surgical ruse. When we pull this off, I'll be honored forever. What do I have to lose?
Really bringing it back to that sort of like, I'll be honored forever, that endless glory from the pursuit of trying to make yourself great.
Except my partner, where could he be now? There he is, he says he had to sneak in to the computer room.
Yeah, because you said rendezvous at 10. 10 p.m. for an 8-year-old? You can't, there's no way his parents would be letting him in the computer room playing RuneScape at 10 p.m. Of course he had to sneak in, our player.
Ride him on a stealthy disposition. He says it's past his bedtime, it's not a weekend. I talk to the furry, then I talk to straight.
You gotta talk to Barek. So that was a callback to Romeo and Juliet.
Even for a second, he wants the beard to do some disappearing. I joke that he shaved.
Always joking when you should be taking this stuff seriously. You're on a hitman job, our player. I think the person you have to kill is named Johnny the Beard. So he's like, why doesn't he just shave? That will get rid of the beard. Doop doop doop.
Psychic is away. He says he has to log off because he's got a custody hearing and it's
sad, dark joke. He has to, well, that's too bad. I don't know if maybe the quest, maybe our player and his partner took like 10 hours to find Barek and Straven, but now it was 10 p.m. and now he has to go to a custody hearing. I didn't think about that until just now. That's funny. Maybe it's one of those midnight back alley lawyerly dealings.
an airtight plan, a foolproof endeavor, a shifty surgical ruse. When we pull this off, I'll be honored forever. What do I have to lose? Oh, damn. The blue moon inn is where I wait patiently for Johnny.
Fun little music theory facts here. This section is in 1716. I was playing it on my piano. That's how I write all this stuff. I write on the piano first, I put the lyrics to it, and then I build the orchestration around it. And I could not, for the life of me, figure out, am I playing this wrong? Am I playing in 4/4 and I just can't play it right? Nope. Turns out these whole measures were in 1716.
Psychic focus on the job, not on dad and mommy. John takes my
Focus on this children's game from 2001, not your parents getting a divorce. Jesus Christ.
Dagger to the neck, customers are squeamish. Call me Mad Eye, cause I'm in the Order of the Phoenix.
That's a Harry Potter reference. I'm sure every single person watching this knew that. It was originally Call Me Harry because I'm in the Order of the Phoenix, but my girlfriend, an avid Harry Potter fan, pointed out that Harry never actually joins the Order of the Phoenix. So I changed it to Mad Eye.
Psychic got his piece as well. It's a sight to behold. Renewed shall be shield that was broken. Get our gift from.
Renewed shall be shield that was broken. That's a Lord of the Rings reference. He says something to the effect of like, renewed shall be blade that was broken. Something like that. When they're talking about the sword. I'm not a huge, I love Lord of the Rings. I'm just not like a super knowledgeable about all of the lore. But, you know, when he's standing in like Rivendell and he's like, oh, this freaking blade, man, it's shattered. Renewed shall be blade that was once broken shall be renewed, or whatever he says. Yikes. There goes like all my nerd credit, I guess.
King Road. Didn't get a huge reward, but our bond is such a happy one. While we're laughing, you say you wish I was your dad. There's no honor involved in having fun.
So here's all this stuff I was saying towards the beginning where it's all about like you can have a good life and have a good time without trying to pursue legacy and mastery and trying to earn your place in history all the time. It also is kind of like a slow jam, not a slow jam, but it's like a slower children's song. That was kind of the tone I was trying to replicate.
Put my arm around the kid, and I tell him you're gonna go far, and I'm happy to serve as your dad's son.
It's so sad because like you can kind of assume what happened in the custody battle. He's not going to see his dad again. So it's really messed up of our player to offer to be like, hey, I'll be your dad. I'll serve in a kind of paternal, fatherly role. And then he calls him son, and then right away he changes his mind.
I'll be sure that I am on par with.
You got the descending synth again, like the Mario death in the Night Sword.
I realize I can't name any famous father figures. Being one will keep me from chasing bigger bets.
So he realizes like, if I can't name a single famous father and all I'm trying to do is gain notoriety and like leave my place in history, then I shouldn't like do this good deed that would bring that is almost like morally good in itself. Nope. He's like, nope, if that's not going to make me famous and well-known, screw it. I'm going to move on to the next thing. And you've only got 2 more free-to-play quests left, so you better get it together and kill that dragon.
I have to get away to my fake son, I say. I'll be right back, I'm just stepping out for some cigarettes, and it's...
That's the common excuse, right? I'm just stepping out for some cigarettes, I'll be right back. It's been like 16 years, I don't know where he went, whatever.
Airtight plan, a foolproof endeavor. It hurts, but I knew it would. I take one look back and then I'm gone forever. It's for the greater good. It's for the greater good.
You can tell he's conflicted about this, right? Like I think this is probably the most important song in the show, just to solidify the choices he's trying to make, where it's a balance of good and bad, and he's like, he has that opportunity to be morally righteous and he still throws it away. But it's painful for him to do that. And then after Goblin Diplomacy, he's just warped into this monster. Speaking of Goblin Diplomacy, I started writing it by listening to a lot of minstrel music, trying to get that feel on like the dulcimer and the tambourine, and trying to see how I could translate that into sort of a rock/pop opera context. I like it a lot. I'm happy with how it came out as someone who doesn't really write minstrel music. you're going to hear on the oboe that motif that I've been referencing over and over again.
A goblin encampment to the north is where opportunity bellows. I'm getting desperate to leave a mark, so I'll help these ugly green fellows.
He's getting desperate to leave that legacy. He knows he's running out of quests. He's got to do something.
Be glad that I chose to arrive. The infantry fights over green and red. This is history, a moment watershed. It'll outlive me long after I am dead. Yet I've never felt so alive. I'm finally defining my legacy. My life, it'll be etched into stone. My actions will live on in endless notoriety, and you'll remember me and me alone.
So he's talking himself up. He's like, you know what? If I can solve this diplomatic dispute, I'm going to be a hero. You know, people will remember me for forever. But nobody... By the end of the song, he realizes that that is not true.
I'll prevent a war with different dyes, and I'll start with orange and blue. They try to tell me where I'll find the mail, but I leave before they can get through.
If you haven't done Goblin Diplomacy, you can just search like random boxes in the Goblin Village to the north of Falador and find all this Goblin mail. You don't have to do what our player is about to do.
I'll find some after making dyes. License leaves running me out of dough.
I don't know why he's so reckless with his money. He just got like 600 coins for completing the Shield of Arrav. I don't know if he's blowing it on beer. I don't know where all this money is going. But like, Wyson's leaves cost what, 6 GP? It's not that much.
Then receive onions from where they grow. Red berries, my mind fills with their go. And the shit that he did to my pie, I'm fine.
So he's starting to harbor this anger towards people that he's tried to help. He put so much work into crafting this pie, only to find Thurgo doing not what you would expect to do with a pie to said pie.
Finally defining my legacy, my life, it'll be etched into stone. My actions will live on in endless notoriety, and you'll remember me and me alone. Aggie helps me distill the hues. I should have listened to the general's story about where I could find the mail. But I'm in a hurry for glory, and morals will not stop my drive.
So I think this is where he's gone off the deep end. And then when he realizes it's all for nothing, oh boy, oh no. Here's a little, in the fiddle solo, you get the a quote of Tutorial Island from the beginning where he's like, I'm trying to like define his legacy, you know, I'll get power and gold, have my legacy told, all that and more on the mainland. So you're gonna hear the da 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 da. I listened to a lot of Wind Waker to try and get this sort of feel. A lot of Irish music as well.
And I've never felt so alive. Found my calling, I'll be known throughout the land.
It's quiet, but mixed in there, you can hear him kind of in this dream state, stabbing these goblins. You can hear them go, you can hear the stab, and then you can hear the goblin dying in the background.
As the hero who led goblin tribes through a color rebrand.
You can hear that it's the more, even though he's trying to convince himself that this is the right thing to do, just him saying, you know, I'm convincing these goblins to go through a color rebrand. Like, that's it. He's out of hope. Like, he has no other options.
Who throughout a timeless struggle through the dying and the blade.
Again, that dying pun that I made back in I didn't realize this until just now that I made in wrapping up the quest log. He's dying the male and killing the goblins.
Will finally make his mark, and I will have a statue made. I'm finally defining my legacy. It's time for me to be world renowned. I'm happy to present you with the options for your armor, and you've settled on bronze.
You could hear the bass line mimicking the Tutorial Island melody. Uh-oh, so now we're at the end of the show, the tragic end. Dragon Slayer is kind of this prog rock 8-minute epic with lots of little tidbits and juicy things to sink your teeth into. This was definitely the last thing I wrote because you have to wrap up the whole thing, and how do you do that in a satisfying way? How do you wrap up this journey that he's been on from this naive guy into this, hell on earth monster? It took a lot of weird, figuring out to try and finagle it. So I'll tell you what the motif is all about. That da 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 da. That plays at the beginning of any song he's about to kill something in. So you hear it at the beginning of Tutorial Island because he kills a rat. You hear it in Wrapping Up the Quest Log because he kills various NPCs. You hear it in Shield of Arrav because he kills Johnny the Bard. And you hear it at the beginning of Goblin Diplomacy because he kills all those goblins. And you would hear it at the beginning of this, but since it kind of flows in from the end of Goblin Diplomacy, you don't get it. But you do get it at the end in a very spooky sort of manner.
That's it. I'm done with the banal. Tales of tasks cannot last. The trials of time. Here I am, world. Give me a challenge. Give me a quest that will attest to achievements of my pride.
For all the shouting in this last song on the album on Dragon Slayer, I actually went out to my car, drove to an empty parking lot, and just did all the shouting in my car and put a lot of reverb on it. So I did not disturb the neighbors in our apartment.
Champion, I like the sound of that. I'll secure a ship, a shield, a map.
So I think the two inspirations I drew for this section of Dragon Slayer were from Chicago's, the musical, not the band, Chicago's Cell Block Tango, as well as What's Her Name by Green Day, which is the album closer of American Idiot.
This is it, my legacy complete. Behead the beast and watch her bleed out at my feet. Horatio permits me his defense. The oracle doesn't make a lot of sense.
Even though it's the last song and it's supposed to be deep and dark and brooding, I still wanted to throw some lighthearted jokes in there, the oracle's riddle makes no sense.
Elzar's maze, a labyrinth full of keys, and their lives while they're bleeding on their knees. The time has come, prepare the marble, laud me with your praise. I'll slay the beast, you'll venerate my marvel till the end of days. The final piece is under lock and key.
I found a lot of like spooky virtual instruments that I could do long chords on and get really kind of creepy, crawly voices. I used a lot of them on this final song.
Insisting I pay him a hefty fee. I've killed your kind, a dozen, maybe more. I assault the prisoner and leave him writhing on the floor.
There's something really eerie about when someone is owning that they've assaulted someone else. I attacked him doesn't really have the same oomph as I assaulted him. Good God.
The time has come, prepare the marble, laud me with your praise. I'll slay the beast, you'll venerate my marvel till the end of days, until the end of days. I found a ship, it's cheap but it is used. I buy it but I've got no crew. Use planks and nails, upcycled like it's new. If I knew construction, would I be at level 2?
It's a good question, If you patch a ship, should you not get construction experience if you were a member? You're using nails, you're using planks. Come on, Jagex. Give the people what they want. This song, I really like the mandolin kind of sea shanty vibes of it. I think it's in 3/4 time. But something that no one has picked up on, unless I've told them, is this melody. Is actually a very familiar melody that everyone who has ever played RuneScape knows, and even people outside of RuneScape recognize. It's just that the chords and the harmony underneath it disguise the melody, so you can't really identify it. So it's, I've found a ship, it's cheap but it is used. I buy it but I've got no crew. And it's in 3/4, so it's a little bit harder to identify. But let's shrink that to 2/4 and sing it a little bit faster and with a little bit of different spacing between the notes. I found a ship, it's cheap but it is used. I buy it but I've got no crew. Use planks and nails, upcycled like it's new. If I knew construction, would I be a level 2? Sea Shanty 2, Port Sarim. Thank you very much. I'll take my Tony now.
My crew and I voyage to the Isle. Cabin boy died.
This section feels a little off kilter because I actually took some of the bass and some of the other instruments and pushed them an eighth of a measure back. So it's got kind of that off kilter feeling that the other verses didn't have, kind of symbolizing his descent into madness.
And I can't help but smile. I find my way. I better make the most of this climb. I leave behind a carcass-littered coast. The time has come.
Yeah, there you go. He's just like, now what essentially started out as like, why are there so many bones? Has become like, I don't care. I'm going to leave behind a carcass-littered coast. And that's just a throwaway line now to him. He's so set on his legacy that it doesn't matter to him anymore.
Into the mines.
Reference from the Knight's Sword from earlier, as well as Lord of the Rings.
Where are you? I know you're here, and I know you're scared. There's nothing.
So all these little sounds, all those little drips and those weird closing of doors. I just said, Addie, I need a bunch of weird sounds. So we just walked around our apartment and made weird sounds into the microphone, and I took them and I distorted them and I just put them in this part to make it a little bit more interesting than just the music.
You to stop me? What'll you do? Claw me to shreds? Good luck getting through my armor. You gonna pierce me with your fangs? I'll sever your lips. You gonna burn my cock off? Ha! I beat you to it!
Again, with his dick is burned off. What? Stop mentioning that. Why do you keep mentioning that? Stop it.
Reveal yourself, dragon! Again!
The dragon, by the way, is not... So the dragon is both like the weird noises it makes and the noises were both provided by Kevin Temmer who is like this famous animator on YouTube that I happened to meet and agreed to help me out with this. His stuff's really good. I like it a lot. You should check it out if you haven't already. He also made the little swords clinking, or the sword clinking as the dragon scales. I think he did that with spoons. He was very clever in getting that sound. Again, I'm borrowing that verse, or rather the chorus melody, and you can hear the strings playing it. So, I'll slay the beast, you'll venerate my marvel. All of my orchestrating I got from a Quincy Kane Morris video, who did sort of this breakdown on how to orchestrate orchestral scores, and I knew I wanted some for Romeo and Juliet and for this part of Dragon Slayer, so shout out to him as well.
Festers, it spreads. There are forces of evil both outside and in.
Call back to what Vanica told him in the very first song. There are forces of evil both outside and in. Did he listen? Stay tuned to find out. No, he didn't.
Ultimately, you will not be remembered for the harm you caused me, but for the harm you caused everybody else.
You won't be remembered for the harm you caused Elvarg, but for the harm you caused everybody else. Is he right? Tune in to find out. Yes, he is right. Of course he is right. That's yeah. Well, he's dead now. And you're going to hear that opening chorus again. This is the same notes, except transposed up a half step from the very beginning of the album, that sort of Greek.
I tread back to Edgeville, head in my hands. A band of bystanders I might kill and croon.
Yeah, it's just a direct reference to the first song of the album, Tutorial Island.
I can't hear their chanting, they're singing too soft. Out of regard for my armor, I have to assume.
So now that our player can wear Rune, he thinks that everyone is scared and meek of him because he is wearing Rune and he's this important figure who has defined his legacy and it'll be set into stone and this, that, and the other thing. But that's not so, we come to find out.
Cause it's Rune, please all loud in your tune, yeah. And they say,
and more tutorial, it's just like Tutorial Island on repeat. With the motifs at the end of this section.
The vain man poses danger.
Back to what Vanica said. The vain man poses danger. It's no longer the mainland. It's now the vain man, our player.
There is nothing he won't do to impose his name and legacy. Everyone, keep your wits about you.
Right down to keep your wits about you. Whew, chills. Scary stuff, man. This part is interesting because as you get these people chiming in individually, critiquing the failures of the player, it's actually in the melody of the song that they're referencing. So he stole from our pastures. In this, it goes, he stole from our pastures. And sort of that like weird angelic voice. But if you speed it up, you get he stole from our pastures. So that's Cook's assistant. Romy is happily wed. He won't remember you. Because Romeo and Juliet didn't get completed. So all that story with the cadaver berries and all that, that never happened because Romeo and Juliet did not get complete. And as such, he won't be remembered by Romeo, let alone anybody else. And then Thurgo coming in, there's a seed in my urethra. Kind of gross, but he caused him harm. You know, if he didn't go through on Thurgo's wishes and pursue legacy at all costs, even though he knew what he was going to do with that pie, we won't be in this situation. My dad has left me, where did he go now? And you got the bass line doing kind of a warped version of the RuneScape main theme, I think? Maybe Newbie Melody again. I love Newbie Melody. It's so easy to just like slip in. Army's a third of what it was. That's Goblin Diplomacy. That's a lot of goblins killed. I did that in the car.
You're ungrateful and hateful, I did this for you. I'll be cherished, you can perish, and I'll see you in hell. There's a gate, it's upstate to a much bigger world. When you're in danger, be a stranger, for I will not quell your unrest. Farewell.
The gate upstate being the gate between Falador and the Goblin Village that all the new members enter through to get to Taverley.
I'll keeping the peace, leading evil's defeat, saving Taverley's streets, saving Taverley, saving Taverley.
So he didn't get what he wanted from free-to-play RuneScape, so he has to be a member and try and find greatness elsewhere. So there's that motif at the end, the killing motif, as it were, implying that perhaps his journey of murder is not yet over as he progresses into Taverley. And that's a reference to the end of Billy Joel's album, The Stranger, where he does the whistle quote of The Stranger, the eponymous song. That's the album. If you made it all the way through this, thank you so much. Honestly, this is a very like niche topic, but I've been thinking about doing it for a while. Just going through and talking about my influences and talking about the wordplay and the lyrics and the music and how it all kind of ties together. Because I know there's probably someone out there who wants to hear sort of a director's cut, a creator commentary of what this show is and what it meant to me. This was my project to get through quarantine. I spent 8 months writing it, and writing it meaning writing the music, writing the lyrics, composing every single instrument, mixing, mastering. This was really my project to learn how to do audio production. That's what I wanted to take away from this, and I feel like I accomplished that. And as a cherry on top, I get to share what I made with people who are also interested in it and hold it dearly to them. So thank you so much for watching this, listening to the album, and listening to all the little one-off projects I've put out. It really, really, truly means a lot. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and thank you so much.